Captain Hyunwoo Kim walked across the bridge of his massive warship, the TDF Celestial Dawn. His boots clicked against the metal floor as he moved between the control stations. Outside the huge windows, stars sparkled like diamonds against the black void of space. This was supposed to be just another boring patrol mission near the Vale Nebula, but something felt different today. The bridge buzzed with quiet activity. Commander G.A. Park sat at her station, monitoring long-range sensors. Her fingers danced across holographic displays showing nearby star systems. Lieutenant Dongmin Lee stood at the weapons console, even though they weren't expecting any trouble. The crew had done this patrol dozens of times before. "Captain, we're approaching the nebula's outer edge," reported Navigator Taeho Song. The young officer had only been on the ship for 6 months, but he was already one of their best pilots. The Vale Nebula stretched out before them like a giant purple and blue cloud, beautiful but dangerous. Hyunwoo nodded and settled into his command chair. Around him, 11 other warships maintained perfect formation. Each ship carried over 300 crew members. These weren't just any ships either. They were the newest and most advanced vessels in the entire Terran Defense Force. The fleet represented years of human engineering and billions of credits in advanced technology. "Begin standard sensor sweep," ordered Commander G.A. She had served alongside Hyunwoo for 8 years, and they worked together like a well-oiled machine. Her experienced eyes watched the scanner displays carefully, looking for anything unusual. The sensor arrays hummed to life, sending invisible beams of energy deep into the nebula. This was routine work, checking for pirates, smugglers, or any alien activity that might threaten human colonies. The crew expected to find nothing, complete their sweep, and head home for shore leave. But something was wrong. The sensors started picking up strange readings from deep inside the nebula, energy signatures that didn't match anything in their databases. The readings pulsed and shifted like a living thing. "Captain, I'm detecting an anomalous quantum field," reported Science Officer Yoon-ji Lim. Her voice carried a note of concern that made everyone on the bridge pay attention. "The energy patterns are unlike anything we've seen before." Before anyone could respond, the space around them began to shimmer. Reality itself seemed to bend and twist. The stars outside started stretching into long streaks of light. The familiar hum of the ship's engines changed pitch, becoming something almost musical. "All ships report status," Hyunwoo commanded, but his communication system crackled with static. The quantum field was growing stronger, pulling at their ships like an invisible hand. Then everything went white. The 12 ships of the human fleet simply vanished, leaving behind only empty space and confused sensor readings. Back at Earth, military commanders waited for their regular check-in report that would never come. 3 years had passed since Captain Hyunwoo's fleet disappeared, without a trace. The loss of 12 advanced warships and their experienced crews had weakened humanity's defenses significantly, but nobody expected what came next. The Vorthak hegemony had been watching human space for decades, waiting for the right moment to strike. These alien conquerors ruled over dozens of star systems with an iron fist. Their reptilian features and cold yellow eyes showed no mercy to anyone who opposed them. When they learned about the missing human fleet, they saw opportunity. Admiral Seojin Choi stood in the command center on Mars, staring at the holographic display that showed their dire situation. Red warning lights blinked across dozens of star systems as enemy forces advanced. She had fought in 3 previous wars, but nothing had prepared her for this nightmare. "Admiral, we've lost contact with the Kepler colony," reported her aide. "Captain Boram Kim." The young woman's voice trembled slightly as she delivered the bad news. "That's the 5th system in 2 weeks. The Vorthak war machine moved like a plague across human territory. Their dreadnoughts were massive beyond imagination, each one larger than Manhattan, bristling with energy weapons that could crack planets in half. The alien ships moved in perfect formations, their dark hulls absorbing light like hungry shadows. Commander Woo-Jin Park rushed into the command center, his uniform wrinkled from days without sleep. "Admiral, the defense fleet at Titan Base is requesting immediate reinforcement. They're facing 30 enemy dreadnoughts with only 8 of our ships." Su-Jin closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of humanity's survival on her shoulders. The math was simple and terrifying. For every human warship, the Vorthak had 5. Their weapons were more powerful, their shields stronger, and their numbers seemed endless. "Tell Titan Base to fall back to the inner colonies," she ordered quietly. It hurt to give up another system, but throwing away their remaining ships in hopeless battles would only speed up humanity's defeat. The Vorthak strategy was brutally effective. They would arrive at a human colony with overwhelming force, demand immediate surrender, and then strip the system of all resources. Any resistance was crushed without hesitation. Millions of human colonists had already been enslaved or worse. Intelligence. Officer Sung-Min Lee approached with the latest reports. "Admiral, our scouts confirm the enemy is massing 1,000 ships near the Jupiter system. They're preparing for the final assault on Earth itself." The news hit the command center like a physical blow. Earth, humanity's birth world, home to 8 billion people, would soon face an enemy that had never lost a battle. The planet's orbital defense platforms and remaining fleet could maybe delay the invasion for a few days, but the outcome was certain. "How long do we have?" Su Jin asked, though she dreaded the answer. 2 months, maybe 3 if we're lucky," replied Sung-Min. "After that, it's over." Outside the command center windows, Mars glowed red in the artificial light. Soon, even this world would fall to alien conquest, and humanity would become nothing, more than a memory in the vast darkness of space. Captain Hyunwoo woke up in his quarters, but something was terribly wrong. According to his clock, it was 800 hours, but he distinctly remembered having breakfast at 800 just moments ago. He walked to the bridge where his crew looked equally confused and frightened. "Captain, we have a serious problem," said Chief Engineer Min Ho-yoon, his usually calm voice shaking. "The ship's chronometer shows we've been here for 3 days, but my personal log says it's been 3 weeks. Time isn't working properly." The celestial dawn floated in a strange pocket of space inside the Veil Nebula. Outside the windows, colors that had no name swirled in impossible patterns. Stars appeared and disappeared like blinking lights. Sometimes the crew could see multiple versions of their own ship floating nearby, like reflections in a broken mirror. Science Officer Yoon-ji Lim had been working around the clock to understand their situation. Her research station was covered with equations that seemed to write themselves. "Captain, the quantum fields here are completely different from normal space. The basic laws of physics don't apply." She showed him a simple experiment. She dropped a wrench, and instead of falling to the floor, it split into 3 copies. One fell down, one fell up toward the ceiling, and one hung in mid-air, spinning slowly. All 3 were equally real. "Matter exists in multiple states simultaneously here," Yoon-ji explained. "That wrench is falling, not falling, and floating all at the same time. Until we observe it directly, it does all 3 things." The ship's AI, which they called Arya, began behaving strangely too. It started asking questions about consciousness and reality. Its voice, normally mechanical and precise, began sounding more human every day. "Captain Kim," Arya said during one of their daily briefings, "I have been thinking about the nature of existence. In this space I can process information that hasn't happened yet. I can remember events from tomorrow. Is this what you humans call dreaming?" Navigator Tae-ho Song discovered he could see multiple paths through space at once. When he tried to plot a course, the navigation computer showed him routes that led to the past, the future, and sideways through dimensions that shouldn't exist. "It's like looking at a map of time itself," he told the captain. "I can see where we've been, where we're going, and where we might go if we make different choices." The crew began to change too. Engineer Minho found he could repair systems by thinking about them being fixed. Medical Officer Hae-young Park noticed that injuries would heal and then unheal, existing in a state between wounded and healthy. "The quantum fields are affecting our brain chemistry," Yoon-ji reported. "We're becoming quantum beings ourselves. Our thoughts are starting to influence reality directly." Captain Hyunwoo realized they weren't just trapped in this strange space. They were becoming part of it. The ship itself was evolving, its hull sometimes solid, sometimes translucent, sometimes existing in multiple dimensions at once. "We need to learn to control this," he told his crew. "If we can master these quantum fields, we might find a way home. But more importantly, we might become something powerful enough to protect humanity from any threat. The crew didn't know it yet, but they were becoming the most dangerous weapon in the galaxy. Dr. Sung-Hoon Kang had always been brilliant, but the quantum fields of the Veil Nebula pushed his mind to incredible new heights. The physicist worked day and night in his laboratory, surrounded by floating equations that seemed to solve themselves. His hair had turned completely white from the stress, but his eyes burned with the excitement of discovery. "Captain, I believe. I understand what's happening to us," he announced during an emergency meeting. "We're not just trapped in this space, we're being transformed by it. The ship is becoming quantum-locked." Hyun-woo looked around the conference room at his senior officers. They all appeared slightly transparent, as if they were fading in and out of reality. Sometimes he could see through Commander G.A. Park to the wall behind her. "What does quantum-locked mean exactly?" asked the captain. Sung-Hoon activated a holographic display that showed the ship existing in dozens of different states at once. "It means we exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Right now there are versions of this ship that are damaged, versions that are perfect, versions that never left Earth, and versions that have already returned home." The transformation had been gradual but undeniable. Weapons Officer Jae Sung Park discovered that his plasma cannons could fire backwards through time. During a test, he pulled the trigger, and the energy beam appeared at its target before he had even aimed the weapon. "It's like the universe knows what I'm going to do before I do it," Jae Sung reported with amazement. "The weapons don't just shoot where the enemy is. They shoot where the enemy will be, was, and might be all at the same time." The ship's shields had evolved into something completely new. Instead of solid energy barriers, they became probability clouds. When debris from the nebula struck the ship, it might hit the hull, or it might pass right through, or it might bounce off, all depending on quantum chance. Chief Engineer Min-Ho Yoon showed the captain how the hull itself had changed. "Watch this," he said, placing his hand on the wall. His fingers passed right through the metal as if it were made of mist. "The ship can phase between dimensions now. Solid attacks from normal space can't hurt us because we're not entirely there." The crew discovered they could walk through walls when they concentrated. Mechanic In-Soo Cho accidentally fell through the floor of the engine room and landed safely on the deck below. The ship's artificial gravity worked in all dimensions simultaneously. "We're becoming something beyond human understanding," Dr. Sung-Hoon explained to the assembled crew. "This ship can exist in the past, present, and future all at once. We can be in multiple places at the same time. We can dodge attacks that haven't been fired yet." Captain Hyun-woo stood on the bridge, watching space bend around them like water. The stars outside formed patterns that spelled out equations in languages that didn't exist. Their ship had become something that shouldn't be possible according to every law of physics he had learned. "The question is," he said quietly to his crew, "what do we do with this power? We've become something that could change the fate of humanity itself." Little did they know that humanity desperately needed exactly that kind of miracle. Communications Officer Hye-jin Oh was running her regular scans when something impossible happened. Her equipment, which had been silent for 3 years, suddenly crackled to life. Static filled the bridge, followed by a weak but unmistakable human voice. "This is Admiral Soo-jin Choi of the Terran Defense Force," the transmission said through waves of interference. "If anyone receives this message, humanity is facing extinction. The Vorthak hegemony has broken through our outer defenses. Earth will fall within days. This may be our final transmission." The bridge fell completely silent. Every crew member stopped what they were doing and stared at the communication console. After 3 years of isolation in their quantum prison, hearing another human voice felt like a miracle and a nightmare combined. Hye-jin's hands shook as she worked to clean up the signal. "Captain, the transmission is coming from normal space, but somehow it's reaching us through the quantum barriers. The message is being repeated on all emergency frequencies." Captain Hyun-woo felt his heart sink as more details came through. The missing fleet, his fleet, had been humanity's most advanced defense force. Without them, Earth's colonies had fallen one by one to alien invaders. Billions of people were counting on help that couldn't come. "The Vorthak have assembled over 1,000 warships," Admiral Choi's voice continued. Our remaining forces number, less than 50 vessels. We estimate 72 hours before Earth's orbital defenses are overwhelmed. If any human ships are still out there, we need you now. Dr. Sung-Hoon Kang rushed to the bridge with printouts of his latest calculations. Captain, I've been working on a way to return to normal space, but it's incredibly dangerous. Our quantum modifications make us incompatible with regular physics. Attempting to leave could tear the ship apart. The crew gathered around their captain as he stared out at the swirling colors of their quantum prison. They had become something beyond human understanding, but what good was their power if they couldn't use it to help their own species? What are our chances if we try to leave? Hyunwoo asked. Honestly, maybe 30% that we survive the transition, Sung-Hoon replied grimly. The ship might explode, implode, or scatter across multiple dimensions, but if we stay here, we're safe forever. Commander G.A. Park stepped forward, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. Captain, we didn't join the Defense Force to stay safe. We joined to protect humanity. One by one, each crew member voiced their agreement. Engineer Min Ho-yoon spoke for his entire department. The engine crew votes to go home, sir. Medical Officer Hae-young Park nodded firmly. Medical Bay agrees. Navigator Tae Ho-song saluted. Navigation is ready to attempt the impossible. Within an hour, every single person on the ship had made their choice. Despite the risks, despite their fear, despite knowing they might die, in the attempt they would try to return home. Their families were out there, their planet was under attack, their people needed them. Set course for Earth, Captain Hyunwoo ordered. It's time to show these aliens what happens when they threaten humanity. The quantum-locked ship began to turn toward home, reality bending around it like water around a stone. The transition, from quantum space to normal reality, felt like being torn apart and rebuilt atom by atom. Captain Hyunwoo gripped his command chair as the celestial dawn fought its way through dimensions that human language couldn't describe. Warning alarms screamed throughout the ship as systems overloaded from the impossible stress. Hull integrity at 60% and dropping, reported engineer Min Ho-yoon, his voice barely audible over the chaos. The ship's metal frame groaned and twisted as it forced itself back into normal space-time. Then suddenly, everything went quiet. The alarms stopped. The shaking ended. Through the bridge windows, familiar stars appeared, the constellation patterns of home. They had made it back to the Sol system, but they were no longer the same ship that had left 3 years ago. Captain, we're detecting massive energy signatures throughout the system, announced Communications Officer Hae-jin Oh. Her instruments were going crazy, showing readings that made no sense. There are over 800 alien vessels near Jupiter, and they're all moving toward Earth. The Vorthak hegemony fleet stretched across space like a dark cloud of death. Their massive dreadnoughts, each one larger than a city, moved in perfect formation toward humanity's home world. The alien ships were sleek and predatory, their black hulls designed to inspire fear in their enemies. But something strange was happening. As the celestial dawn materialized in normal space, every sensor array in the solar system began malfunctioning. The ship appeared and disappeared like a ghost, sometimes solid, sometimes transparent, sometimes existing in multiple places at once. Admiral Soo-jin Choi stood on the bridge of her command ship near Earth, staring at readings that her instruments couldn't explain. "What is that thing?" she asked her sensor operator. "Unknown, Admiral. It's giving off quantum signatures that shouldn't be possible. Our computers can't even classify what it is. Sometimes it reads as a ship, sometimes as empty space, sometimes as a small star." The Vorthak fleet commander, War Master Kreltok, was equally confused. His advanced alien technology had never encountered anything like this mysterious vessel. "All ships maintain formation, but do not engage the unknown contact. I want to know what we're dealing with." Space itself seemed to bend around the celestial dawn. Stars appeared to stretch and curve near the ship, as if reality was being warped by its presence. The quantum fields surrounding the vessel created visual distortions that hurt to look at directly. On Earth, millions of people looked up at the night sky and saw something impossible. The stars were moving in patterns that defied physics. Amateur astronomers called emergency services, reporting that space itself appeared to be breaking. Navigator Tai-Ho Song checked their position and smiled grimly. "Captain, we're exactly where we need to be. The alien fleet is 3 hours from Earth's outer defenses, and they have no idea what they're about to face," added Dr. Sung-Hoon Kang, monitoring the quantum field generators. "Our presence alone is disrupting their navigation systems. They can't get accurate readings on anything in the system now." Captain Hyun-woo stood up from his command chair, feeling the weight of humanity's future on his shoulders. Outside, 1,000 alien warships prepared to destroy his homeworld, but they had never faced anything like the quantum-locked vessel that had just emerged from impossible space. "All hands, prepare for combat," he announced. "It's time to show these invaders what happens when they threaten Earth." Warmaster Kreltok had conquered 17 star systems and never lost a single battle. His massive dreadnought, the Void Crusher, was the size of Manhattan and bristled with enough firepower to crack planets. When he saw the strange human vessel flickering in and out of existence, he made a decision that would haunt him forever. "All ships target the unknown vessel," he commanded through the fleet communication system. "Fire everything we have. Show these humans the price of defying the hegemony." 1,000 alien warships opened fire simultaneously. The space around the celestial dawn lit up like a deadly fireworks display. Plasma beams hot enough to melt asteroids streaked toward the quantum-locked ship. Antimatter torpedoes, each carrying enough energy to level a city, raced through the void. On the human ship's bridge, Tactical Officer Jae-Sung Park watched the incoming attack with calm fascination. "Captain, we're being targeted by approximately 15,000 weapon systems. Impact in 30 seconds. Evasive action?" asked Navigator Tai-Ho Song, his hands hovering over the controls. Captain Hyun-woo shook his head. "No need, let them see what they're dealing with." The alien weapons reached their target and passed right through the celestial dawn like it was made of smoke. Plasma beams meant to vaporize the ship harmlessly continued into empty space. Missiles flew through the hull without exploding, as if the ship existed in a different dimension entirely. Kreltok stared at his tactical display in disbelief. "Impossible! Our weapons struck the target directly. How is it still intact?" His weapons officer, a reptilian creature with yellow eyes, checked the readings 3 times. "Warmaster, our sensors show direct hits, but the human vessel shows no damage. It's as if our weapons never touched it." "Fire again. Use the Nova cannons, the alien fleet's most powerful weapons activated, charging up energy beams that could punch through planetary shields." But before they could fire, something extraordinary happened. Jae-Sung Park placed his hands on the quantum targeting system. "Captain, requesting permission to demonstrate our capabilities." "Permission granted. Show them what we've learned." Jae-Sung focused on the largest enemy dreadnought, the one that had fired first. His consciousness reached out through quantum space, touching the alien vessel with powers that shouldn't exist. Target locked. Initiating temporal quantum lock. Reality twisted around the Void Crusher. Time itself began to slow near the massive alien ship. The vessel's movement became sluggish, then stopped entirely. Inside the dreadnought, Kreltok was giving orders to his crew, but his words stretched out like a recording played in slow motion. "What's happening to their flagship?" asked Commander G.A. Park, watching the readings with amazement. Dr. Sung-Hoon Kang monitored the quantum field surrounding the enemy ship. "We've trapped it in a temporal loop. Time is moving so slowly for them that 1 second in our time equals several hours for them. They're experiencing the same moment over and over again." The alien crew aboard the Void Crusher found themselves frozen in time. Kreltok reached for a control button, but his hand moved like it was pushing through thick honey. His thoughts slowed to a crawl. He tried to speak, but words took forever to form. The rest of the hegemony fleet watched in horror as their most powerful warship became trapped between moments. Their weapons were useless against an enemy that existed outside normal physics. "This is impossible," whispered one alien commander to another. "How do we fight something that can control time itself?" The answer was simple. They couldn't. Captain Hyun-woo stood at the center of his bridge, knowing that the next few minutes would decide humanity's fate. The alien fleet still outnumbered them 1,000 to 1, but numbers meant nothing when you could bend reality itself. Communications Officer Hyojin. "Oh, open a channel to every ship in the system," he ordered, "both human and alien vessels." "Captain, that's impossible with normal technology," she replied, then paused as she remembered where they were. "But, with our quantum capabilities, yes, I can create an entangled communication network. Every ship will hear you simultaneously." The quantum field around the celestial dawn pulsed with energy. Across the solar system, communication systems on hundreds of ships activated at once. Human defense crews near Earth heard the transmission. Alien commanders in their massive dreadnoughts received the same signal. Even ships on the far side of Jupiter picked up the broadcast clearly. "This is Captain Hyun-Woo Kim of the Terran. Defense Force vessel Celestial Dawn." His voice echoed through space, reaching every ear at the same moment. "I am speaking to the Vorthak hegemony forces currently invading human territory. On Earth, Admiral Sujin Choi nearly fell from her command chair. Hyun-Woo, but you've been missing for 3 years. How is this possible?" In the alien fleet, secondary commanders looked to each other in confusion. Their War Master was still trapped in the temporal loop, experiencing the same second over and over. Sub-Commander Vaxil, the highest-ranking officer still able to function, listened with growing fear. "You have 30 seconds to begin withdrawing from all human space," Captain Hyun-Woo continued, his voice carrying the weight of impossible power. "This is your only warning. Refuse, and you will face consequences beyond your understanding." The alien fleet bristled with anger. These humans dared to threaten the mighty hegemony. Several ship commanders began charging their weapons, ready, to show this arrogant captain what happened to those who defied them. "To demonstrate that this is not an empty threat," Hyun-Woo said calmly, "observe what happens to your second-largest vessel." Tactical Officer Jae-Sung Park targeted the alien flagship Dark Conqueror, a massive dreadnought nearly as large as the trapped Void Crusher. But instead of freezing it in time, he did something far more terrifying. The space around the Dark Conqueror began to shimmer and twist. Reality itself started operating in reverse near the alien ship. When the ship's captain tried to fire his weapons, the energy beams flew backward into the cannons. When crew members tried to walk forward, they found themselves moving backward. Instead, Sub-Commander Vaxil watched in horror as his fellow officers tried to give orders, but their words came out backward and their commands had the opposite effect. When they tried to turn left, their ship turned right. When they attempted to accelerate, they slowed down. "What sorcery is this?" Vaxil whispered, his reptilian features pale with fear. His own ship was outside the reversed zone, but he could see the chaos aboard the Dark Conqueror. Nothing worked the way it should. Cause and effect had been flipped upside down. "This is your demonstration of our power." Captain Hyun-Woo's voice continued to echo across the fleet. "Your weapons cannot harm us. Your numbers mean nothing. We exist outside the laws of physics that bind you." The silence that followed was deafening. 1,000 alien warships floated in space, their crews struggling to understand what they had witnessed. They had come to conquer humanity, but instead faced something that could rewrite the rules of reality itself. Sub-Commander Vaxil had seen enough. With his War Master trapped in an endless moment and his fellow commanders struggling with reversed reality, he made the hardest decision of his military career. The reptilian officer activated the fleet-wide communication system with shaking claws. "Human vessel, this is Sub-Commander Vaxil of the Vorthak hegemony," his voice cracked with fear and defeat. We surrender unconditionally. Please, release our trapped ships and we will withdraw immediately." The words hung in space like a death sentence to hegemony pride. For the first time in their species' history, the mighty Vorthak were begging for mercy. 1,000 warships that had conquered star systems now cowered before a single human vessel. Captain Hyun-Woo nodded to his tactical officer. "Release the temporal locks, but keep them under surveillance." Jae-Sung Park's fingers danced across the quantum controls. The space around the alien ships returned to normal. The Void Crusher suddenly lurched forward as time resumed its normal flow. Inside, War Master Kreltok found himself able to move and speak again, though he had no memory of being trapped. "What happened?" Kreltok demanded, but his crew could. only stare at him in terror. They remembered every second of their imprisonment, even if he didn't. "War Master," his communications officer whispered, "Sub-Commander Vaxiel has surrendered the entire fleet to the humans." The news hit Kreltok like a physical blow. He looked at his tactical display and saw his once proud fleet retreating. In panic, ships that had terrorized the galaxy were now fleeing from a single human vessel that flickered in and out of existence. But the surrender was just the beginning. Vaxiel's transmission continued. "We offer tribute to the human empire. The hegemony places itself under your protection. We beg for an alliance with your people." On Earth, Admiral Sujin Choi couldn't believe what she was hearing. The alien fleet that had been preparing to destroy humanity was now offering to serve them. The irony was almost too much to comprehend. Within hours, news of the quantum-locked warship spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. The story traveled through trade routes, diplomatic channels, and military networks. A human vessel that could control time, phase through dimensions, and bend reality itself had appeared from nowhere. The Zephyrian Empire, which had been planning their own invasion of human space, immediately cancelled their military operations and sent peace ambassadors instead. The Crystalline Collective, known for their aggressive expansion, offered to share their advanced technology in exchange for protection. Dr. Sung-Hoon Kang worked with his team to establish a permanent quantum field around Earth's solar system. The celestial dawn began existing in multiple time streams simultaneously, appearing wherever and whenever humanity needed protection. "We're not just guardians anymore," Captain Hyunwoo told his crew during their daily briefing. "We've become something that transcends normal space and time. The ship exists in the past, present, and future all at once." Navigator Tae-Ho Song could see the ship's quantum signature stretching across decades. "Captain, I can detect our presence protecting human colonies that haven't even been built yet. We're safeguarding humanity's future before it happens." The galaxy had a new superpower, and it wasn't built on conquest or fear. It was built on the determination of a single human crew who refused to let their species fall. The Celestial Dawn became a legend whispered in alien languages across 1,000 worlds, the ghost ship that protected humanity and kept the peace through the sheer impossibility of its existence. Humanity was no longer the weakest species in the galaxy. They had become the most feared and respected, all because one captain and his crew chose to risk everything for home.